Hey, hello. So today I'm here to take a ride on the Riese Müller Delite mountain, Rohloff, with the Gates carbon belt. And it's my third ride now, but I wanted to share some kind of first impressions. Here we go. So this is the year 2020 model. As I said, it comes equipped with a Rohloff. It has 14 electronic shifted gears and a carbon belt. No derailleur, no cassette, no chain, and it's equipped with a 625 watt-hour internal battery and 27.5 inch wheels by 2.8, so quite voluminous tubes, which give a very good comfortable ride and a lot of grip. The wheels are playful. I've had no problems in the mud. I have taken a couple of rides, one at night, one in the mud, in these kind of conditions, like we have here, and no problem. The bike has a dropper seat, and it has forward lights and rear red LEDs from the brand Supernova. They're very good, very powerful, good night vision. So overall, my impression of this bike is that it's quite nimble, very playful. It weighs 27 kilos, which is in line with most of today's e-mountain bikes. They all try to say that they weigh only 23, 25, but yeah, not really. And the bike has only one battery in the lower tube, so the center of gravity is quite low. And merci. And it's easy to handle. I have done a couple of short hops over some branches, and yeah, it's easy to move around. When it comes to the controls of the Rohloff, the electronic shifter, which is my right thumb, is quite small, and with gloves it's difficult to feel which the buttons you are pressing and how many times you've pressed it. So I've dug a hole in my glove to feel for that better, but I haven't had tremendous success with that. Not yet. It needs some time to get used to. Another thing that it needs time to get used to is to coordinate your pedaling with the gear shifting, because you cannot put pedals under pressure and shift at the same time, because you're going to break everything in the geared hub. It shifts differently from a mechanical derailleur and chain with cassette, in the sense that you can shift without pedaling, and like I did then, and if you pedal while shifting you might break something, so pay attention to that. And you have to learn a new how do you call it, new coordination, a new task, which is to, like now, really anticipate when your terrain moves, because it will take you by surprise sometimes. The fact that you have to shift earlier and you cannot shift under pressure. If you do a shift under pressure with this, you will hear the gears crack, and it's not so good. I've had once a problem when I was coming into mud. I got a little bit stuck, I lost traction. There was a lot of mud. It was probably 5 meters of deep mud. And I put one foot on the ground, the other foot was trying to relaunch the bike, and at that time the shifter shifted automatically to the 5th gear, shifted down. And while I was pushing that pedal, it shifted on me. So that feature, I want to get rid of it, because it will cause future problems in technical places. As for the rest, you need to anticipate. As I said, you can shift without pedaling or pedaling very softly. So you have to coordinate, like now, let go a little bit, shift, and continue pedaling. The nice thing about this system is that you don't need to give it a rotation for the new gear to engage. Once you stop pedaling shifted gear at the same time, it's already engaged. You don't have to wait for the chain to change from one cog to the other. So that's nice. The nice thing about the whole bike is the low maintenance that it requires, because you can go on a muddy ride and go home, and you don't have to completely rinse the chain, remove all the mud from the different cogs of the derailleur and from the cassette, because it has none of that. You just have to spray quickly the belt. And you don't necessarily need to do that, but whatever. You need to spray quickly your bike. You don't have to worry so much about the belt. And certainly all the gears inside the hub are protected from mud, from dust, and from impacts. So this is the most important part of this bike, is the low maintenance. On the next ride, you don't have to worry about lubricating the chain. There's nothing to do. I had experiences with the derailleurs where you'd hit them, you either fall or you hit a root or a rock, they bend. So now the gears are shifting funny, or they're jumping, and you don't have that issue with this bike. Another thing that I've had with the derailleur on my Cube was that it after 1500 kilometers and mud and water and such, it got stuck, so it would not extend the chain. Also, when I took it out in very wet conditions, I could feel the chain became more wet, as well as the cassette, and all the mud would start to go in there. And so after a while it was grinding sand and all that stuff in there, metal against metal, and that was not good for the bike. And with this, with the Gates carbon belt combined with the Rohloff, you don't have such problems. You can go into the muddiest situations, wet, it doesn't care, it just keeps going. The belt is made out of carbon, so there is no metal on metal, there is no oil to be added, you just go. So I've recently moved from a house where I could detail my bike, clean it in detail, to an apartment. And in the apartment, if I clean it in detail, there will be mud, or there will be oil mixed with water all over the place, and it's not so convenient to have a cassette derailleur chain combination. Alright, so that's the most important part for this bike, in my opinion. What else can I say about it? The Fox suspension is quite comfortable. They have chosen 150 millimeters in the front, which gives you pretty good travel. It does not get you off balance when you're going up. On the contrary, you can afford to put less air pressure on the fork, and it becomes more plush. And when you're trying to go up a hill and there's a root that comes, it will absorb that root and you'll stay in balance pretty well. And the Rohloff has 526% gear ratio. Let me tell you, that number one gear going up is just unbelievable. I rotate my pedals the other day going up a very steep incline in the woods. I looked down and I had 122 RPM. Man. So what else? The brakes are unbelievably good. They really are awesome. Very precise. You can brake exactly as you want. They can bite very strong if you need to, or you can be very smooth. Those are very powerful brakes in the sense that it has 4 pistons in the forward brake, so you have extra braking power there. The brake handles, however, I feel they are a little bit big. They are okay for a cross-country bike or city riding. They are a little too far away for my fingers, so I have to extend them completely, and I just feel they are a little bit too far away, a bit too large for a mountain bike experience. The location of the head unit. It was initially here in the center. I did not like that because I want that place for my phone. So what I did is I went to Cube, I bought an acid kiosk mount, and so I moved the kiosk into this new cradle. It's attached to the handlebar, and then this central spot is now available for my Topic phone, how do you call it, yeah, phone case. This is the way I like it. Oh yeah, some roots. Boom, boom, perfect. All right, what else? So, the rear frame has a lot of holes, and the suspension as well is exposed to all the splash from the rear wheel. Those holes are also exposed to the splash from the rear wheel, and that location will accumulate a lot of mud. I don't know if all those holes are evacuated, because they have quite a few where the cables pass, and a few extra that are there because Riese Müller uses the same frame for all sorts of bikes. For instance, it uses it for the Delite mountain, which is this one, but also for the normal city Delite. It uses it for the cross country and for the super Delite and so on. So some have dropper seats, others don't. So extra cable, one less cable. Some have cables that go on the left, some on the right, but the holes, they stay there. And I would advise strongly to buy some mud guards. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to show you what I mean. So here is a rear mudguard, which is in fact the same model that I bought for the front. It's a small model. You attached it there, you can see the straps, so that this area here is not splashed with mud. And there's a hole there, there's a hole on this side which you can see, and then there's a bunch of holes here in the bottom. All of this needs to be protected. Good. So that's what I did. Some other thing I wanted to show you. Might as well do it now. It has, let me switch off the light so you are not blown. Alright, here is supposed to have an internal turn limiter for the handlebar, so that the fork does not strike the frame. This side it hits, and on the other side, you see, it doesn't. I have a finger. So I've signaled this to the shop, and they told me that this needs to be recentered. It's not aligned. But it's a nice feature to have, because then you can turn and nothing here will hit the frame or break, including the fork, right? Here. So that needs to be aligned. Once it's aligned, it works fine. Some other thing that I had here was that this cable was not attached here, and it was rubbing over here, and it removed the paint. I could see the red below the black already, because this was just in there. This is the brake cable, so that was reattached. Also the shop, for I don't know what reason, I think it was the shop, put this on top, and it's a thumb lever, so why would the thumb have to go on top to drop the seat? So I had it replaced here. This thing with a key, you can turn it, and of course if you have it upside down, then you have to pull the lever, so they also had to pivot it. So finally it's done. Oh, something else that I need to show you. Here in the bottom, here, you see, in this location there was a cover, and there's a hole for a screw, and this part here is missing. I don't know what happened. They say it's nothing structural, it's just a cover, I don't know what for, but yeah, it's quite flimsy and it's already missing. Alright, so small details, some of them matter, some of them don't. Now I'm going to switch the light back on. As you can see, we switched the light from the kiosk. The lights are delivered with the bike, they are integrated, and you will never forget them. They are powered from the battery, and if you're riding the day and you don't want to use the battery, just switch it off. It will spare the life of the lamp as well. And if you're riding at night like now, in the fall or autumn, then you have a very good set of lights, and you have low beams and high beams, both LED, so they don't consume a whole lot. That's a great feature. Okay, I'm gonna turn right here. Oh yeah. So when I had the bike on the rack, I turned the cranks manually, and I could feel there was some internal resistance due to the belt. And I must say that when you're pedaling, you can't feel it. It's just there's nothing, no resistance that you can let's say complain about. It's when the electrical assistance stops, you went beyond your 25, 26. Oh, it's really easy to keep the bicycle moving forward. There's no resistance, or it's very negligible compared to the power of your legs. Yeah, but when you're hand cranking it, yeah, then you can feel. Okay, I'm gonna jump here. Ooh, my favorite jump. Wow. All right, I got that suspension pretty well dialed in. Ah, nice. All right. What else can I say? I mean, I love the color. The red chili is just fantastic. The handlebar feels good. It's quite wide. The handles are of good rubber. I changed the original pedals with Shimano Clipless pedals and a metal frame. For those who don't like clips, then the original pedals are quite wide and they look very sturdy, so you can keep those, no problem. And this is one of the few manufacturers that provide pedals with the bike. Most of them don't, and you have to buy them separately anyway. But with this bike you can, after the purchase, just leave the shop. The bike is complete, you don't have to buy anything else. Unless, of course, you want to have clipless pedals. All right, good. So let me illustrate the high beams once I get into a more shaded area. The sun will set in a few minutes, so it's not yet the right moment. The contrast will not be enough. Yeah, so the bike feels great. I have to be careful shifting, and the rest is pretty much classic. On the software side, it comes with the latest 85 Newton meters firmware for the motor, but unfortunately, I don't know who did that, the shop or the manufacturer, but it worked here, okay. Yeah, but when I select the mode above Tour, it displays Sport, and it should display eMTB. The MTB mode is kind of a set it and forget it mode. Oh, here is sufficient light. Let me switch it on. Look at the lights. Wow, amazing. Coming back to the set and forget mode, eMTB, it has an assistant level that spans from Tour, Sport, and up to Turbo. You don't have to worry about it. It's self-detecting, dynamic, and this is the kind of mode that I would set if I was going to ride in the forest with steep climbs and descents back to back, so that I don't have to be changing that assistance level throughout the ride. But somehow on this bike the Sport firmware was installed, and so I agreed with the shop that on my first visit, the first visit is at 250 kilometers, then they will flash the firmware, put the eMTB software in it. Okay. Very good. Very, very good. So let's talk a little bit more about advantages and disadvantages of the Rohloff. If you have to repair a tire, you'll have a hard time, because it requires some knowledge and tools to lift the bike, remove the wheel, and release the cable tensioner, which is set here to the right side behind the forward wheel, and it's there under pressure to keep the belt extended while the suspension works. Well, if you want to remove the wheel, you have to somehow release the spring from the tensioner, and it can be quite complicated. So you have the option to go tubeless, and of course then there's a liquid inside, or as me, you can keep the tube and add some liquid, so that if you have a puncture, then you have the liquid plus the tube plus the tire itself. So we have extra layers of protection. And on top of that, I do carry a small pump in case of. For the forward wheel, there's no such problem. You can easily replace the tube, but I did the same preparation for both. We'll see what happens. Very nice. Very, very nice. I had the choice between the two frames. I measure 173 centimeters tall, and I could have chosen between the medium frame, which is 50 something of size, and the small frame, which is 40 something of size, and I did choose the small frame. The main reason was because if you choose a frame that is a little bit too big for your size, your seat, your telescopic seat might not have sufficient length to be readjusted. Yeah, so it might end up being too tall for you. So it's preferably to have the smaller frame. It's preferable to have the smaller frame and then adjust the seat up if it's necessary. So I'm quite happy with that choice. And I had to adjust 2 fingers from the bottom position of the seat. Oh, this is great. And it's working quite well. Okay, so that was a jump on the Rohloff. That's not nice. This should never happen. It did not crack, but it jumped. I could feel that the gear was not engaged sufficiently. Now with an electronic shifter, the gear shifting should be precise. There's no excuse to fall on the next gear. Also, there's on the shifter there's a function where if you keep your finger on it, it will shift once and then 3 times automatically. I'm going to demonstrate. So now I'm going to shift up. Listen. So it, hoopla. Okay, and if you leave your finger on it, it pauses for a second and then it goes 3 more. So leave your finger, goes flip, 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 flip. So you have rapid shifting in this manner. However, the idea is to shift 3 gears, and with this system you end up shifting 4. So you have to be careful. Sometimes it's better to press the button one by one repeatedly until you have the gear you want. All these notifications. Jeez, man, all this crap. Work is bugging me. All right, give me a second. Yeah. Get out. There you go, cleared. So, this is my time. No more emails at this time. Good. So the bike is quite easy to throw around, to follow the trails like now. It's quite comfortable. The seat is quite sportive. Okay, this is something else. Clear. And clear. Hop, roots. Alright, forget about it. Hop, hop. Good. So now, an example of a technical uphill. So I'm going to engage. Ooh, look at this mud. Alright, so the shift on and increase assistance. Here we go. And okay, now I'm in second gear, going up. First gear, okay, now I'm in first gear and 105 RPM, no problem. And I still have grip on the front wheel, which is awesome. On my cube, usually in this portion, my front heel wheel would be lifting and I would be doing a partial wheelie. With this bike, no such problem. Really awesome. Really, really awesome. Quite pleased with that. Okay, down we go. Oh yeah. So the tires being quite... Ooh, I might have a flat on the front. Oh yes, I do. I was just talking about that. Okay, so now I have a flat tire. What about the rear? No such problem. Okay, so now I have to pump. Ah, man. So let's see if I can find the source of that problem. And now I should have my tube. I would be able to repair. Ah, man. Okay. I guess that does it. And from now on, I'm going to say nighty-night. And we'll put some air in that and hope that the liquid will do the rest. Okay, cheers. So, look at this light. Amazing. So, I just had an issue with the puncture in the front tire. I did not replace the tube. I just added more air with a small pump, and now I'm on my way home. Looks like the pressure is holding. In that tire I have a tube, and in the tube I have some sealant liquid, and I added that because I had prepared the rear tire with that liquid. Might as well prepare the forward tire. And I'm happy to have done that, because now it looks like the liquid is doing its job, and I'm able to ride home without having to stop so much. Okay, so now here's an interesting climb. I'm going to switch to turbo mode, and I'm on my first gear. Let me see which way. Left. Good. And when I get home, before I get home, I will try to wash the bike. Good. Hello. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the Riese Müller Delite mountain with the Rohloff and the Gates carbon belt. One of the subjects that can take more time to talk about is the electronic shifting. So when you don't have more electricity, your shifter will not work. It's an electronic shifter. It's powered by the battery, and so if your battery is completely empty or has a kind of electrical fault or something, you will not be able to shift. That's a disadvantage compared to a mechanical system. Also, when you're stopped, there's a function to shift down from whatever gear you have to the 5th gear. You can change to, or you can program the system to engage any gear you want. But yeah, from the factory, it is programmed for the 5th gear. And most of the time when you stop, you leave your foot on the pedal. You're not pushing, but you're just resting your foot on the pedal. And the bike will shift on you, and you will feel the pedal go down, boom, boom, boom. However many gears it shifted down. That's not ideal, because you don't want to be putting any pressure on the pedals when you're shifting gears. So I will try to have the shop program that on my next visit, so it will not automatically shift. I'm not sure if there's a possibility to disengage that function, or plan B is to set the gear to 14th gear and so the bike will not shift down when you stopped. It's important to understand that the bike, if you're stopped, it will not shift up. If you're stopped, let's say on 2nd gear, it will not shift to 5th gear. It will not shift up, only a shift down. So if you set your default gear to be number 13 or 14, then for sure it will not shift if you're stopped, because you already have the, if you program the 14th gear, then you cannot shift down from any gears to that one. And so I will have them do something like that. Yeah, so those are some pretty tricky technical aspects of the Rohloff if you want to make sure that it lasts a long time. This system has been well tested on cross-country bikes, but not so much on mountain bikes. Salut! And because it has not been tested so much on mountain bikes, I wonder if it's rugged enough to withstand the treatments of our favorite sport. Okay, oh. All right, so here's an example of what not to do. So I'm going to ride down and try again. Damn it, I was in the wrong gear, and so I was on 3rd gear and I wanted to have 1st, but it was too late. So let's try again. Okay, so now I'm on 1st gear. This is one of those climbs that are pretty mad. Okay, let's do 125 crank rotations per minute, full power. I have turbo mode engaged, and here we are. Okay. So lessons learned: shift gears well in advance if you want to climb without discontinuing. And look at these lights. I'm in the middle of the forest, and I can see well in front of me and around. If somebody passes, I just change to a lower beam and then high beam. Excellent. Really extraordinary. To come back to the Rohloff subject again, the kiosk will display the gear if you are on the first page, where it displays the speed and the relative effort and distance, and it's very small in the corner, so you can't really see it. Or if you are on any other page, let's say my favorite page is this one, if you shift, look, it will show you 11/14, and then it will disappear. With this system, this is the only way of knowing which gear you have engaged. You cannot look in the back and see the position of the chain over the cassette, because all the gears are internal. So if you have any doubt, you just have to shift and then have a look. Yeah. And that's basically what happened to me back there. I thought I had shifted down to first. Then I was talking and I pedaled a little bit when we started to climb. And then I shifted down to first, but it was too late. I had to stop pedaling momentarily. And then I stalled, lost control. So if you have a Rohloff, do your shifting well in advance. Oh yeah. Other than that, it's a classic bike. It feels, oh, here we go. Okay, so that's not good again. And then I cracked it twice. Shit. Okay, I'm doing it wrong. I'm not anticipating well in advance. And that's a big problem with the Rohloff, because then, as you could hear, the gears are not engaged and they crack. And it's not good for the longevity of the system. Holy mackerel. Really have to learn a new skill, which is shifting the gears without breaking the gears. The Rohloff itself is quite expensive, so if you have to repair or replace that thing, it will cost you, I don't know, 1,000 euros, something like that. And one other thing I wanted to say about the Rohloff is that it's a little bit heavy. It's heavier, at least, than the classic cassette derailleur system. And it is, of course, what they call unsprung weight. It kind of changes the kinematics of your suspension. And supposedly I can't feel that much of a difference. But again, I am not a big, how do you call it, downhill suspension torturer. I most of the time like to do my trails like this, kind of slowly, and I don't feel any difference compared with the classic system. And so, like with any mechanical device. There are trade-offs, and you have to be willing to trade the disadvantages of the system. Oh, bonsoir. Pardon. You have to be willing to trade off the disadvantages of the system for the respective advantages, which are low maintenance and protection from impacts and very large gear ratio. All right, so I think I'll leave it there for tonight. And what I'm going to do is ride as much as I can in all conditions on this bike, and then I'll make intermediate reviews, give my opinion, talk about any problems I may be encountering, respectively with the Rohloff, or if things are going smoothly and I really have a rugged bike, good for the winter and low maintenance. All right, so let's enjoy the ride. Soft sand. There we go again. So it shifted down, and of course it grinded. Shit. I don't like that. I have to get rid of that automatic function, because I had my foot on the pedal and then it shifted down and it went click, click, click. That's not good. Again, going this way first, and then I'm going to turn around. Ooh, they've been working a lot on these woods. So now I'm in first gear. Turn around, look at all this sand. And selecting sport mode, selecting turbo mode actually. Let's go. Okay, second gear. Okay, third gear. All right, now it's changing down to tour mode. That's enough. That's sufficient assistance. I have to do some sports. The nice thing about the assistance is that you can keep your momentum on the way up, and if you slide, you lose some grip on the rear tire. Because you have that momentum, you're going to catch a new place where that grip will return, and then you can continue pushing. Whereas if you go slow and you have almost no momentum and you slide, then you're stalled. You don't go forward anymore, and you have to push your way up. All right, now one of the most demanding climbs. I go again with tour mode and I change to 1. Let's go again. 100 rotations, crank rotations per minute. 99. Yes, and here we are. Fifth. One last thing I wanted to say about the kiosk is the thumb drive is also very flat. There is no surfaces that you can feel under your gloves, and sometimes you think you're pressing a button and you're not. However, this is less important because compared to the Rohloff shifter, because you change assistance a lot less frequently than you change gears. So there you have it. It's nothing like a trigger shifter, in my opinion. They could have made those kind of shifters, but electronically, so you can feel the movement when you're pushing and with your index when you're pulling. I like those. They give a positive feedback. You don't have a doubt what you just did. With the first kiosk, let's say with the first Bosch head unit, the Intuvia, the thumb drive had a little bit more contour to it, so you could feel your finger passing from one place to the other. I don't know why they have abandoned that design, because it was pretty good, but they did. All right, let's go down here. Oh, night rides are nice. These autumn nights where it's not too late, but it's already dark, and if you have clouds, you still have quite a good temperature. Oh yeah, here's the branch again. Holy mackerel. Okay, so that concludes tonight's ride. Now I'm going to film the washing, and it's nighty-night. Yeah, but first I want to try my gears to see if nothing broke. So this one is good, 10 is good, 11 is good, 12 is good, 12 I can hear it clicking. Let's do 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, okay. And here is the washing station. So it's a very good service, and the tire pressure held. So I'm quite happy with the system of and now I've got a nozzle. I got a choice between washing and rinsing, so I'm going to rinse. Oh, that's my telephone. You see, here in the back, there's not much to clean. Mostly it's just under the seats, actually. And that's it. And so I press the red button, put this back, and we can go home. Better than that, you can't. It's really nice service. Okay, let's get the lights on. 12, 13, 14. Again. 7th, 6th, 5th, 4th, 3, 2, 1. All good. Here we are. All right, cheerio.